The date is January 13th, 2007. We are monitoring a ice and sleet storm that's been affecting Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, Kansas, and will be moving into Illinois over the next 24 hours. All these areas have been experiencing ice and snow. There is a current animated winter mosaic, and you can see the orange areas are mainly ice and sleet moving through Oklahoma City and into Missouri, and looks like St. Louis is going to get pounded again. There's been power outages all over the place in Missouri and in Oklahoma. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the webcams around here. Let's start at, this is in St. Louis, a tower cam, a very dark image. Let me zoom this image in here so you can see what's going on. A very dark image, and we see mostly, it's around 5 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, 4 o'clock where these cam shots are in St. Louis right now, 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Again, power outages. You can see there's really no lights on in this image, and this may be indication of a power outage. I'm not quite sure, but you would see lights in this scene. Now, here is a shot from Oklahoma City, and you can see that we have icy roads, icy conditions, snow all over the place. Looks like a lot of snowfall there, and Oklahoma's been dealing with this. There were several fatalities over the last 24 hours due to traffic accidents, people sliding on the ice. Now, this is an interesting shot. Here is the arch in St. Louis, and you can see, let me get it centered in the image here. Here we go. There's the arch in St. Louis, very dark. There's a few lights in the background here. Again, there's been power outages, some 50,000 people. The last time I checked, it's probably higher now. But ice all over the place. Here's a shot from Tulsa. Now, this is a fresh image from this afternoon. This is about a minute old, and this is from 4 p.m. Central Time at Tulsa, Oklahoma. Notice the ice crystals hanging off the lens here, and this is in Tulsa. Now, let's go to Moore, Oklahoma. There's Moore, Oklahoma, snow all over the place. Looks like a gray, cold northern day. Here's another shot of St. Louis here. Let's zoom this in a little bit. And again, gray skies. But you can see the power lines here in this shot here from St. Louis. Look like they're intact. There's not any ice, or these lines are still up. You can't see them on your picture there because it's a little brighter than what I'm looking at. But right where my mouse pointer is going, there's power lines running through here. They all look like they're in good shape. Now, this is a cam from an area that's really taken a beating over the last 24 hours. This is a place called Kimberling, and it's in southwestern Missouri, south of Springfield. Now, Springfield, I've had an internet corresponding with a person in Springfield, relative of a person in Springfield, that says it's an absolute disaster in Springfield. There's tree branches down, power lines down, many without power. There's some roads are completely impassable due to how many trees have fallen and snapped in half in the roads. So it's a real mess. But they have their power up here, and this is in Kimberling, again, well south of Springfield, but just north of here is where the real big problems with the ice have taken place. But they still have their power here in this shot. This is about a 7-minute-old image from Kimberling, south of Springfield, Missouri, which has taken the hardest hit so far from this storm. Now, the next 24 to 36 hours, this is going to continue, and we will have the national news opening to see how the national news is covering this event, and we'll also have segments of local news, scanner feeds from both Missouri and Oklahoma, as well as the live cams on and off over the next 24 to 36 hours on the live broadcast.
Ice storm, a winter blast slams the Midwest. Freezing rain, sleet, and snow with more on the way. Moving on, a major winter storm is blowing across the middle of the U.S. tonight, dumping a layer of ice as far as south as Texas. So far, authorities say at least 6 people have died as a result of the storm, and tens of thousands have been left without power tonight in several states. NBC's Charles Hadlock joins us tonight from Oklahoma City with that story. Good evening, Charles.
Good evening, John. Ice storm warnings remain in effect from Texas to near the Great Lakes. A glaze of ice covers parts of 6 states, where the biggest problem now is just keeping the lights on.
This is looking like it can get a little dangerous.
Yes, definitely.
The ice storm of 2007 is putting a heavy burden on trees, power lines, and people.
In ice-covered McAllister, Oklahoma, Ronald Love has to watch where he's standing.
The landlord's up there now and took it off.
The midsection of the country is packed in ice in the wake of the coldest Arctic blast of the season.
This is the worst I've seen yet.
From Texas to Illinois, roads, power lines, and trees are coated in ice, along with the dusting of sleet and snow. Fun for some people, dangerous for everyone else, like the driver of this 18-wheeler who slid off an icy interstate bridge in Wichita, Kansas, and into a river.
The driver didn't have any serious injuries, which was remarkable, and it's going to be a real challenge for somebody to get that truck fished off the bridge and out of the river.
The governor of Missouri has called out the National Guard to help clear away the broken, frozen branches. Tens of thousands of homes are without power in southwest Missouri.
I mean, I have groceries and everything. We just took everything from the freezer and put it outside now.
With temperatures below freezing, it's nature's icebox, and the thermostat may hold steady for a while.
Accumulations that have occurred as a result of all of this, and there we go. You see this line stretching from Illinois all the way southwestward into Texas, and it has just really been a big problem here. We've seen not just freezing rain accumulations, but sleet accumulations here, especially in the areas behind the storm. Sedalia getting about 3 inches of sleet accumulating, Tulsa about 2 inches, and then heading into the ice accumulations, as I mentioned, we've seen some very significant ice accumulations around Missouri, around the area of Springfield, getting in the range of 1.25 inches of ice accumulation, and also in the range of 1.5 inches of ice accumulation as we go back into parts of eastern Oklahoma here around Eufaula.
Emergency crews are responding to not only more car wrecks, but also to an increasing number of slip and falls as the ice storm of 2007 holds its frozen grip.
And even when the storm passes, temperatures will remain well below freezing well into next week, ensuring that this region of the country will remain frozen for some time to come. John, back to you.
Charles Hadlock in Oklahoma City tonight. Charles, thank you.
Welcome back. This just in. Oklahoma Highway Patrol says there's been another deadly wreck. This is about 5 miles east of Elk City along I-40. Happened just before 4 this morning.
Yeah, we're told the accident involved a van and a semi-truck. We're joined now by Lieutenant Pete Norwood with OHP. Thank you for being with us, Pete.
You bet. What do you need?
What can you tell us about this deadly wreck that we're just getting in?
Well, right now, everything is preliminary. We still have troopers responding to the accident as far as our investigation is concerned. I know I have 7 fatalities. The preliminary information shows that a van crossed the center median and went head-on with a truck. And, could be weather-related. That's highly likely.
Know it all. You say a van. Is that presumably where most of the people who were killed were in that van?
In probably all likelihood, when you mostly semi-trucks, the number of drivers, usually you'll have a driver and a passenger, but when you're in a van, you never know how many people you're going to have in there. So most likely it's going to be the van that's going to have most fatalities.
Wow, 7 people killed. And do you have any further information on ages or who this might have been?
No, I don't. Everything's really preliminary right now. I know our investigative team, our Signal 30 squad will be out probably to reconstruct the accident. Obviously, just a tragedy out here.
Today's winter storm is being blamed for at least 4 deaths in Missouri. Governor Blunt has declared a state of emergency and has mobilized the National Guard. 150 troops are being dispatched in and around the St. Louis area, and right now there are a little more than 91,000 people without power in the St. Louis area. The storm disrupted Metrolink rail service this morning, but all trains are now up and running. So, now many residents in our area are dealing with damage and bracing for that next wave of icy weather to come.
News Channel 5's Ann Rubin joins us live now from Ameren headquarters with the latest. What are they saying, Ann?
Well, Ameren crews are out in force trying to restore power. The problem, they say, there is more ice and more outages in our future.
In St. Charles, there's an icy coating on everything. The frozen weight causing tree limbs to crack and power lines to fall.
Kind of like popcorn up in this area here with all the tree limbs snapping.
The tree branch came off.
In fact, this particular limb made an unfortunate landing right on Matthew Spurlock's car. There was some good news, though.
It's not my car. It's the rental. So, kind of works, so to speak. Sucks to be there.
All the downed limbs and lines have led to widespread outages here. Today, half the population of St. Charles was without power. That includes Joni Sullivan.
We were really excited. The power came on for about 5 minutes, and then we looked out our back window, and the tree was on fire.
Luckily, Ameren crews were in the neighborhood. In fact, there are at least 1,000 linemen on the streets and more contract crews coming in from Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois.
It gave us an update on how many people have slipped on the ice just this morning. It's been 6 falls just this morning that people and so that they've had to respond to. 30 slips and falls that needed treatment from EMSA since Friday morning. So do take it easy out there if you have to walk outside. Take it from me. Already fell once.
You always have your cell phone with you too, even if you go out to check the mail or whatever. Make sure you have your cell phone.
He's playing. There's kind of been a steady downfall of sleet and snow. We've kind of got a mix now. As you can see, it's mainly sleet that's fallen. The sleet pellets there. Pretty decent accumulation there on the table. And as I said, it's been falling steadily here for the past half hour or so. It looks like we've got more to come.
There was probably 3 inches of sleet on the ground. This is where the roads have not been plowed. It was difficult to get through just by volume of what was on the road. It was very, the car wouldn't want to steer straight and didn't want to go once you got stopped or stop once you got started. So this has been plowed, so there's not nearly as much on here. And I can't tell for sure. It doesn't look like there's quite as much on the sides of the roads, but I do believe some of this has fallen as ice. I don't see the major trees, all bent over yet, but there is some accumulation here on the trees, so it is going to be a problem down this area.
And on the hood of your car there, too, as well.
As it brushes the snow off the windshield, it kind of piles up there in front of the...
You can see that.
And we have cleared that off several times just because the windshield wipers pile up to where the windshield wipers can't go all the way down because of the sleet gets down there and then it freezes into one big blob. So we've just kind of chipping away at it as we get a chance. But it is wet up now. There's maybe some very light snow flurries here now where Highway 9 connects up to go over towards the Norman.
Photojournalist Chris Lee out there giving us the very latest on the road conditions. To go along with Gus and Chase. Apparently they were big fans of disco.
Apparently, of course.
Trying to bring it back a little bit, even doing a little of the shake.
That's just from the cold, not the music, I don't think.
I don't know. I didn't know if there was some disco move that they were bringing back. That's true. Well, I hope that brings a little levity to kind of a serious situation. A lot of you are at home and maybe feeling the cabin fever and you want to get out. Don't drive if you have to.
Don't.
Take it from us. Take it from Tyranny, who can't drive.
Because my car will not start.
Because the car won't start.
I think it's the battery. So if just go out periodically during the day.
Okay, you've been watching coverage from KOCO Television in Oklahoma City, covering the ice storm of 2007. Going through the old cams here, cam shots from this morning in Oklahoma City. Let's scroll through this and see the different cam angles that were provided on this cam in Oklahoma City. And you see as the day wears on here, conditions get worse. And you look at that image, and then these images coming up, conditions gradually get worse, and there they go as the ice moved in today. And there's your last shot right there from about 5 minutes ago, Oklahoma City. A lot of ice on the roads. Luckily, there's not that much traffic out there right now. Now let's look at the next cam, which is from Tulsa. And this is a very interesting cam shot, and I'm going to go through some of the thumbs from this morning. And you'll see here that conditions are relatively okay early in the morning. There's a lot of ice around, but notice how the day wears on here, that conditions get worse. And there's our last image as the ice is really starting to come down again in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A lot of ice coming down, and that's due to this swath that's moving through right here. You can see it on this winter mosaic. And you notice all the oranges. Oklahoma City is right about where my mouse pointer is in the center of the screen. So the first batch has moved through. Now we have another batch from the south coming up. And this is all going to be moving into Missouri. And, of course, Springfield is right here where my mouse pointer is. And they've been hammered. A lot of power outages in Springfield. Trees down, roads blocked from yesterday's ice. So another round is heading in now. So that'll be interesting to see. But we have another batch coming out of Texas heading into Oklahoma, so we're going to continue to monitor this situation with the camps.
Honestly, I don't know. I have not been able to talk to a single person here. We wanted to show you the images because this is happening now, and on top of that, it's something people need to be aware of. This is, going to happen across. We just came from 2 other incidents where it was a carport, a much smaller structure, and the back patio porch that collapsed.
Well, it seems, Nicole, like that was a trend of what we were seeing, were some of the more flimsy structures collapsing. I can see you're a decent distance away from this building. Can you tell us what kind of material this is? Because I don't think this looks like a traditional roof you would see on someone's house.
No, to me it looks like a metal structure. You know, some of those bigger buildings that are built, metal structure.
Probably corrugated metal, right.
Yeah, the corrugated metal. Yeah, and in fact, you can see right now one of the Del City Fire Department ladders is backing up. They have several units here on the scene.
These are really incredible pictures that you're showing us live right now, Nicole. It kind of is amazing to see, maybe because the structure is so big. You would almost expect to see it with a carport or something like that, because those structures are a lot more flimsy. But with something like this size, it's pretty incredible to see these pictures. Again, this is the Destiny Christian Center in Del City. That is off of Southeast 29th. This is probably the largest structure we've heard of that has had a roof collapse like this.
Really see off to the left-hand side of the screen. Is that a gas station that is next to where the semi stopped?
Yeah, right up to the left-hand side of the screen. There is a Love's store right there off to the left. Right up, off to the left side, which would be just west of him. And now you can see that the truck driver has gotten out of his vehicle right now. It looks like he's trying to maybe free some of his tires right there. But he's definitely stuck, looks like pretty much almost in the middle of the road.
And unfortunately, Mark, it doesn't look like he was very prepared for this weather, because I think he's wearing a T-shirt.
Well, that's what it looks like. Maybe it's very warm in his cab. I'm not really sure right now.
Well, we had been talking about, we have so many truck drivers and travelers that come through Oklahoma City on our interstate system, and they may not be exactly aware of what kind of weather conditions we're facing. Hopefully, it looks like someone's coming over to help, so hopefully they can get this semi out of that area, again, near I-35 and Southeast 81st.
Okay, it is now January 15th, Monday. And the ice has moved out of mainly out of Oklahoma and Missouri, and has now moved into Michigan, Illinois, and into Wisconsin, and heading towards the northeastern United States. There's still some lingering ice down in Texas, but we've been monitoring this cam from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And if this is going back in time, notice the icicles on the screen. And as we go through time, of course, we'll go into darkness here, and you see the icicles remain. There's some more ice falling in the picture, and then we just lost that image there, but let me get back to these images. Here we go. This is starting out this morning now. You still see some icicles there, but as the day wears on, the icicles begin to disappear. And now in this last image, we have sunny skies in Tulsa, and we have no more icicles. So things are clearing up in Oklahoma, and this is good news. They've had a heck of a time the last 48 hours dealing with ice and sleet. And now look at it, things are clearing up. So the focus is now up in Illinois and Michigan, and we'll have some more audio clips coming up from these areas to wrap up this ice storm of 2007.
More deaths tonight from that Midwest ice storm. Hundreds of thousands are still in the dark as the deep freeze now moves east.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
Good evening. We're going to begin here tonight with massive weather problems across this country, beginning with a look at what's causing it all. Take a look at this huge weather system. It is longer than the United States is wide, well over 2,000 miles of it, and it's cutting the nation completely in half. An endless supply of precipitation as it moves to the northeast, and depending on where the precipitation hits the ground, it's causing big trouble. Tonight, an estimated 675,000 customers are without power in 5 different states, most of it, as you see, due to ice. And so far, this dangerous weather system has been blamed for at least 36 deaths in 6 separate states. That is where we'll begin tonight with NBC's Don Teague. He's in eastern Oklahoma tonight. Don, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. This ice storm also caused thousands of flight cancellations and delays over the 3-day weekend. With the storm finally moving out of Oklahoma, residents here woke up this morning to a surreal scene. It looks like a page taken straight from Dr. Seuss, a winter abstract that's anything but serene. A crushing layer of ice, in some places 4 inches thick, has enveloped the nation's midsection, causing accidents and power outages from Texas to Maine.
When the transformers went to popping, man, it just sounded like cannon going off.
In Shakota, Oklahoma, the electricity has been off since Friday. The ice so thick it tore the utility box off Sarah Barnes' house.
I got 3 kids and worried about keeping them warm, safe, and fed.
In hard-hit Missouri, National Guardsmen are going door-to-door checking on residents as utility crews work to repair power lines brought down by ice-covered tree limbs. Icy roads are blamed for deaths in at least 6 states, including New York. But ice isn't the only problem. Snow has moved into Iowa and Wisconsin, while Ohio and Arkansas are dealing with flooding brought by heavy rain.
It's dangerous over there. There's deep water either side of it.
And it's not over yet. The storm that wreaked so much havoc across the Midwest is now moving into New England and across the South.
We're also seeing the last dribs and drabs of freezing rain and snow in the surrounding Great Lakes to the northeast and extending towards the extreme northeast through Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine right now.
A winter mess that millions will be dealing with for days to come. In fact, it may be more than a week before power is restored in the hardest hit areas because ice this thick can cause a tremendous amount of damage. Brian?
Don Teague starting us off tonight in Oklahoma. Don, thanks.
St. Charles City and County bore the brunt of the weekend ice storms with thousands of homes and businesses still without power this morning. Joining us to talk about the recovery effort is St. Charles Mayor Patty York. Mayor, thanks for joining us. And it seems like none of us is going to get through this winter without having our power out at some point. What has Ameren been telling you about the timeline for power repairs?
Well, thanks for letting us on to catch up those people that we can. Ameren has told us that, of course, the eastern part of the county is the hardest hit. They only have about 18,000 from 30,000 households yesterday, so they are working diligently, and we have seen quite a few areas come online. We expect electricity to be substantially restored by the end of the day, and we hope all of it is on by tomorrow.
Of Muskogee, Oklahoma. Casey, what is the latest?
The latest right now is in and around this Muskogee area, just a little bit east of Tulsa. About 10,000 people in and around Muskogee are still without power this morning, 120,000 statewide. They're doing the best they can as far as getting power restored to the greatest numbers possible, but it seems like every time they get one line restored, another 5 or 6 seem to fall down. There's 200 utility poles down in Muskogee County alone. Now, this is what folks are waking up to this morning as the sun starts to come out and the snow flurries begin to fall on top of this ice. I'm going to guess that this person came to this hotel parking lot where we are in Muskogee County to try to get away from the ice, to try to be safe a little bit, but now they probably have 2 days worth of ice built up just on the hood of their car. How do you even begin to thaw out the windshield? How do you begin to get inside your car to warm it up so you can get back home and check out the damage and see exactly what's going on? And with temperatures not expected to get above freezing until Thursday, this could be a long, long thawing process. Now, I just got off the phone with the emergency management department here in Muskogee County. They tell me they have a couple of major phone calls that they're trying to make this morning with the American Red Cross. Right now, there's just 2 disaster shelters that are set up in Muskogee County. One's here in the town of Muskogee, as well as another one in Warner.
Peters, Missouri, one of the many towns of Missouri hammered by thick ice over the weekend. The ice storm knocking out power to hundreds of thousands across primarily Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, even northern Texas. And you can see the power lines, some of them actually catching fire. Assume that if a power line is down on the ground, assume it's live. Don't assume it's not live. Don't assume it's cable TV because you could electrocute yourself. Look at the power outages continuing across the state of Missouri, about 300,000 customers. Yeah, not as bad as it was in early December, but still pretty bad considering it is cold. In the St. Louis metro area, power outages last check at about 105,000. Over in Springfield, one of the hardest hit towns in the state, one of the shelters where people went to stay warm, it lost power. So, boy, I tell you, it's a catch-22 there.
Ice-coated roads, trees, and power lines. Hundreds of thousands of people in the dark. That's the scene right now across a big part of the nation's heartland. From Missouri to Texas, a major winter storm has left its mark, and now parts of the Great Lakes and Northeast are feeling its impact. At last counts, about 330,000 homes in Missouri were without power. The number in Oklahoma, 122,000. The storm, which blew in Friday, is blamed now for at least 30 deaths across 6 states. 15 in Oklahoma, 6 in Missouri, 5 in Iowa, 2 in Texas, and 1 in each New York and in Maine.
Clock across the Midwest, where dozens have been killed and more than 500,000 people are spending frigid nights with no power after a wave of sleet and snow and ice-covered states from Texas all the way to New York. But no place took a hit as hard as the American heartland. Utility crews in Missouri say 330,000 homes and businesses are in the dark there, with wind chills tonight expected to be in the single digits. President Bush has declared the entire state of Oklahoma a disaster area with up to 4 inches of ice. That's toppled trees and taken down power lines. You know the deal. It's turned the roads into death traps in some cases. Now the storm is moving east over the Great Lakes and into New England. Kim McIntyre's on the story. She's live from Oklahoma City at a frozen-in airport. Hey, Kim.
Hi, Shep. Yes, it is quite cold out here. The wind is just whipping around us. But I do have some more information about that federal assistance that will be coming to the state. This just into Fox, that FEMA says that 100 generators will be dispersed over 22 shelters that are already opened here in the state. And they will also be bringing in 180,000 bottles of water. Water is scarce at some grocery stores as people prepared early for the storm to settle in over the weekend. Now let's take a look at some of the video of one of the hardest hit areas in the eastern part of the state, in Muskogee, where thousands are without power. American Red Cross volunteers are picking up people who may be stranded in their homes and bringing them meals if they decide to stay put.
Last night we slept without any electricity, and about 4 or 5 of our friends who lived around electricity, we slept in sleeping bags and huddled up in a room. So I lived in South Dakota for 2 years, and I never seen anything like this.